All right, everyone, let's get started. Thanks so much for showing up for Huddle last week of July. We got a few interesting things to talk about. It'll be slightly different than our normal Huddle subject matter and all those things. Let's jump into a couple forms first. There's three really easy forms that I want to review. Because these are always the things that are popping up on our radar. So I want to make sure that you feel really good about your use of them. And if you have questions, now's the time. This one seems, the one I'm going to share with you seems really obvious. And you're going to be like, well, Mike, why are we talking about this? Well, we need to talk about it because, believe it or not, the buyer's notice of cancellation of the real estate purchase contract can be we can blow this one on occasion. I just want to talk about a kind of a few general rules here. Obviously, that we have to select the right box, right? I mean, that's goes without saying. Box number one, the notice of cancellation of the REPC prior to the due diligence deadline. We know that one. Box number two, notice of cancellation of the REPC after the due diligence deadline, but prior to the financing and appraiser deadline. Some of this seems unnecessary. I don't know why that we would have to go and create sort of a compound sentence there to describe the finance and appraisal deadline. We're canceling before that deadline. But we do. But they've done that, and I kind of hope they just make it a little simpler in the future. And then there's paragraph 3. If canceling under section 8.3 BI of the REPC, earnest money shall be released in accordance with that. Notice the cancellation of the REPC, and then there's other options for us. So there's 8.3 BI, so notice the cancellation for financing condition, risk of loss, subject to sale of buyer's property addendum. And so we could check those other boxes. Here's the thing I just want to put out there as a reminder. If you are having, this is a rule basically for almost any situation, really. And that is, I can't think of a really good reason that we would wax on or belabor the point about why we're canceling specifically. Now, I know that, in a due diligence situation, let's say we do an inspection, and we have some contention over the inspection, and we're talking about it, and we want some concessions, whatnot. And the answer of why we're canceling would seem obvious to everybody. Once you issue a notice of cancellation, I think your best bet is just to keep your mouth shut and not go on about any other thing about why they're doing it or provide any more background detail than you've already done. That's almost entirely the reason why we would get ourselves in trouble for these things, is because, we issue a notice of cancellation and the agent follows up with some detail that contradicts the check boxes. And I know it seems weird because it's like, well, we checked the boxes. Yeah, but you just told me that wasn't the reason. And that's a real point. Like, you can't check a box and then say something different about your motivations or what have you afterwards. And as a reminder, we don't have to provide an explanation of why we're canceling, because it's literally up to the buyer's sole discretion, which means they can just get cold feet. Cold feet is a legitimate reason to cancel a REPC within the time frame and get your money back, get your earnest money back. So once you issue that notice of cancellation, just say, yeah, we canceled for due diligence, and that's it. That's all we got now. The deal's done. Don't go on. You're just potentially digging yourselves a hole. And so if we ever have any problems with cancellations, it's because of that. Does anybody have any comments, suggestions, experience with this document? I can't imagine you'd have problems, but we got problems everywhere. Anybody, Bueller, have any comments, suggestions, or before we move on?
I have one comment, Mike. If you
take it away,
the finance guy, it's like an audit. If they ask a question, answer the question, don't elaborate, right?
Yeah.
Check the box and that move on.
Yeah. Exactly. Check the box and move on. Because we have, and quite frankly, as the broker who's stepped in to handle situations, I have used the agent's words against them and said, well, yeah, but your email literally stated the opposite of the checkbox. And because it stated the opposite of the checkbox, you just told us why you canceled. And so that's the problem for me. I want the earnest money. I didn't get it all. I got some of it, though. Yeah, I got some of it. Kimmy says, all I know is I hate getting them. Oh, don't we all? It's just the worst document to see. It's like you don't even look at it for like 10 minutes. You just know it. You don't even review it really because you're just like the wash of misery is just going over you and you just can't deal with it. And then you go back later. Hopefully you remember to go back later after you've licked your wounds and then review the data. I mean, that's what I would do. I don't know if I recommend you go back later. You should probably look at it seriously, but it's hard to when you get that thing. It's hard to take it. It's hard to dig in at that moment. So anyway, that is that document. These documents, let's jump into also kind of similar documents. I want to make sure that we are using these appropriately. And here you should see the buyer's notice of withdrawal of offer and counter offer. So, by the way, just put in the chat, are we frequently using these and having them available to us throughout our transaction? I do feel like it should be used more because, it just should be used more. Because we're kind of leaving things unsaid at times when we shouldn't. But the buyer's notice of offer, withdrawal of offer or counter offer, I feel like as listing agents we're using it a lot more because we get another offer in the meantime and we have to have this one ready. These are really important documents, and as you will notice there is no, and I'll just share this really quick with you too. Seller's notice of withdrawal of counter offer. We're not going to review them in detail, but I want to talk about the concept of both of them. There is something obviously missing to both of these, and in which, this is just a written notice. This is nothing else. So there's no room for accepting these or rejecting these. These are just notices. So notice of withdrawal of counteroffer and notice of withdrawal offer / counteroffer for buyer. And we can't do that without doing it in writing. Okay. And timing does matter a lot. So if you are filling these out and using these to put the kibosh on something that you've done, know that time means everything and that you better drop what you're doing and prioritize everything to get this signed and submitted. The other thing I wouldn't do is I wouldn't call and notify the other party that that's what you intend to do. That's a bad move. So if you are filling these out, you are doing it just between you and your client, and you are going to submit this hopefully before you receive notice of acceptance or anything of that type of that nature. So, by the way, just throw it in the chat. Are you guys actively using this? Is this part of your repertoire of like, yeah, we could totally do this, or are you using some other method to potentially back your offer or counter offers up? Hit the reverse on this. I'm going to take your silence as admission that you are using them. That's what I'm going to do here, whether you like it or not. But yeah, please use these. They're actually a really valuable tool, especially for a seller, because the seller, it's almost always a seller's situation in which it's most important because they got a better offer. And if only I could, take that counter offer off the table before I accept something new, life would be so good. And it's true, life would be really good if you could just take that back. Well, guess what? You can, all the way up until the moment that you get an acceptance. So, yeah, time is of the essence there. KKMM1000 says, it's a good reminder that it's available. Thank you, KKMM1000. That's like a Twitter handle, KKMM1000. Double K, double M 1000. Thank you for participating. All right, moving on. Today I want to do something a little different than what we've done in the past. This one does border, what we're going to do today does border slightly on coaching a little bit, but we don't do much coaching here. But we're going to do it. Gosh darn it, we're going to do it. I want to talk about time management and things related to time management, because I do hear a lot about, well, let's just face it, our business is incredibly stressful. There's burnout is around every corner. You're riding high. You don't even realize that when you're feeling the burnout, it was like 10 days ago that you were feeling like $1 million. And in that short period of time, you're now feeling some burnout, you're feeling stressed, you're feeling whatever. I don't know that we can make that go away, but we can certainly talk about some things to maybe take the edge off of those feelings. So I do want to talk about some time management and talk about some of those series we did. Sorry, Logan agents, we did cover this yesterday, but we're going to cover it again because it's a great subject and there are other people here. All right, let's talk about the reality of the terrain. 80% of agents experience burnout in their first 2 years. I'm surprised it's not 100%. The first 2 years are very stressful. I always describe this business as a marathon that you have to start out at a sprint, which seems like a pretty good analogy of that. You really have to work hard to get those first few deals under your belt. Just for your own mental load and, obviously the bank account. But, this business is a marathon and we have to view it that way. But I think that, I don't know that we have the stats on, I would guess that if you've been in this business 10 years, the percentage of agents who've been in this business 10 years who've experienced burnout is 100%. That would be my guess. I just can't imagine. Actually, maybe it's 97. 3% of us are probably insane people who don't experience a wide range of emotion, and so they just don't feel it. We won't account for them. 100% of the people with appropriate range of emotion have experienced burnout in 10 years in this business, period. 40 to 60 hours average weekly commitment, heavily bleeding into weekends. I think that's pretty common. I just think that, and there's some people out there, real estate agents don't work that long. I think if you actually had to keep track of your time and clock in and clock out, you would be shocked at how much time you're spending, because there is an enormous amount of time that we can go, you know what, that one client, I haven't talked to them in a while. They went kind of dormant. Maybe I could just see what's on the MLS and call them with a new property and pique their interest again. And before you know it, you've spent an hour and a half on this little side quest looking at properties. 62% of our 62% spend an hour daily of marketing, and 50% spend an hour traveling a day. Yeah, that's easy. And on the weekends, an hour, like just an hour. So when you think about 40 to 60 hours, when we're showing homes, the drive time is part of that time away from the lives that we want to live. I mean, some of us maybe want to, being a realtor is the best thing in the world, which is fine, to each their own. But a lot of us do want some other things outside of being a realtor. And that drive time definitely cuts into that life we want to live. So just be aware that I don't even know that you need to be told that you're spending an enormous amount of time on real estate. Your family knows it. They've told you, like, oh, where's mom or dad? Mom or dad is on a phone call around the corner in their bedroom, or they went into the downstairs because everybody was being loud and they needed some silence. That's where they are. And after a couple of, they're like, oh, they must be on a phone call somewhere and they don't care anymore. But that's the reality of it. The industry defaults to exhaustion. Thriving requires a deliberate, engineered approach of time, which I couldn't agree more. So let's move on. I think that's a pretty good description of our problem. This slide, which is a very poor slide, but it kind of does the job. The myth: motivation leads to action. The result: sporadic, heroic bursts of effort that lead directly to burnout. If there's anything that has ever described me and my real estate career, if there could only be one thing, one little block in a picture, it'd be that one right there. I'm very, very good at being highly motivated with incredible ideas, and I can run with those incredible ideas or whatever for like 60 days, and then I'm just like, holy cow, it's just too much. And but the truth is, the real truth is, and I see this all the time, the success creates the motivation. The motivation and our enthusiasm, it can come and go based on life events and all the things we deal with outside of work can really drastically affect that. But what I do know is that small, consistent daily actions create unstoppable momentum. I agree with that wholeheartedly. So the people that I know that have really good schedules, they're not. I know that if you go into the hustle culture on YouTube and look up some sales stuff, there's guys that are like, yeah, it's real simple. You prospect for 4 hours and make cold calls into a database for 4 hours every single day of your life, and you'll be super successful. Well, yeah, if you did that, that's probably true. How many people do that as a long-term career? I mean, single-digit percentages can actually complete that as a long-term career. But a whole lot of us can make, 10 phone calls every day, send 5 emails every single day. We can do these things every single day. And it's a really hard thing to describe a situation in which we can't do that, right? So remember that. Don't feel like, actually, let me back up. Let me describe the problem that people have with this. And not that the concept is wrong. I think everybody here would agree that, yeah, that makes really good sense. I think the problem with this strategy is, and especially in real estate, our actions are the positive actions that we take to generate business that result in good things. I don't think we necessarily are able to make a great connections between the actions that promote the great things and the great thing, because the time frame in which those happen are so far apart. So if you have a closing tomorrow, the natural action consequences thing doesn't really take effect, right? The obvious one is we put our hand on a stove and it's immediately burned, and we immediately associate action and consequences. In real estate, the action is we prospect, and the consequences of closing, well, those can be months and months apart. And so it's really hard to go back and go, I did this and good things happen. The truth is, I did this and months later, good things happen. So there's a huge gap between the actions we take and the positive consequences of those actions. So remember that. We just have to have faith that those positive actions will turn out. And that's the truth in almost any marketing or prospecting activity that you take. So a good example is farming. I'm a big believer in farming. And so I know agents that have the most classic form of farming you could ever have, which is I don't actually talk to these people, but I pick a neighborhood and have 300 addresses, and I send them something in the mail, a postcard every single month. That's it. And I hope that they call me. And you're like, well, there's no way that works. That works. But that works because they've been doing it for a decade. And they now close, 10, 12 transactions from that activity alone. But it took a long time. Now, are there other more efficient ways to go about that particular activity? There sure are. But remember, the time that we put into our prospecting and all that has a delayed response, and we have to have faith in that delayed response. So a small, consistent daily actions is what we're going for. Anybody have any questions, comments, anything they'd like to add? Because I've talked straight for 15 minutes, uninterrupted. Boom. Okay, that's cool. Doesn't matter. I'm not a huge fan of this slide, but it does spark some discussion. You're basically return on energy and return on investment. So remember some of the things I've learned from some of these super hype sales conventions I've been to, where they get you all hyped up, and it lasts for like a week after you're done. Some of them, you do take something away from every single one of those. The one that's lasted the longest for me, because and I guess it was because I initially was brought up, in this business to think something else, like, assess who you are and work on your weaknesses to become better. And so that sort of made sense. But I think in our business, it makes much more sense to find out what we're really good at and lean into it and forget everything else, because there's so many things that we can do to generate business. Why would we do something that we hate? My advice is always that, find the things that you really like doing. And if you have 3 or 4 of those that you really like doing, you're done. Forget about everything else. Yeah, there's other things you could do, but why would you care about those? Just be good at those 3 or 4 things. If you can only find 2 things, all right, the 3rd or 4th thing has to be something that you're willing to do. And if you find out you hate it, you got to find something else. So lean into the stuff you're good at. So that's that whole, in the upper right-hand corner, the genius: high return on investment and return on energy. Time flies, gives immense energy and joy. I think the thing, because if you are doing something like, you have a database and you're making cold calls, because I've been through this. I grew up in a business that, with mentors that were like, hey, like literally gave me a phone book, that old classic. Here's the phone book. Let's be tough about this and not give up. And I did it. And I made a lot of phone calls, and I was super miserable for like 3 months. Like, there wasn't anything worse, but I was like, I'm going to make it. So, and then when I wasn't becoming successful, I'm like, well, I don't have what it takes to make it in this business, because what they told me, and I didn't know any better, and they were the only people I knew and I trusted them, that this is what it takes. There's no other options. So we make phone calls until we get business. And I'm like, I'm not going to make it, because there's no way I'm willing to do this for years. I'm just not willing to do this, because these people hate me who I am calling. They hate me the second I open my mouth, and they're like, this is not a friend. They hate me. So anyway, yeah, there's no reason to, like, you're not going to make it if you're forcing yourself to do something you hate. But I will say, sometimes you have to do something that you don't love. I'm willing to do it. I don't love it, but I am willing to do it. That's just part of life and part of this business, that we have to just dig into those things. But don't do the stuff you hate. Forget about it. Move on and focus your energy on the things that you're good at or like or are willing to do. Anybody have any questions before we move on? Any questions? Great. Moving on. We won't focus a whole lot on every step of this slide. But I will say, a goal without a dedicated block of time on the schedule is merely a wish. So I think this is actually, these next couple slides, I think, cut to the core of our problem, which is our time management. And we have a real pressure on our time, because it's obvious our clients, our afternoons and weekends is when they can really conduct business with us. And for the most part, I think most of us are like, yeah, I'm available to talk to you at almost all the time, and if they call at 9:30, you feel horrible if you screen that call. Most of us are just like, oh my gosh, I'm screening this call. They're going to hate me, or we'll feel some negative emotion about it. Right. But the bottom line is, some of that can't go away, but some of it can be managed. And I think a really effective thing to do, if you're feeling that your time is just sort of out there, you're the tail on the dog, right? You're just being thrown around left and right. There are some things that you can do to manage it. It won't go away entirely, but time blocking seems so simple, but it's so effective. You got to start putting on your calendar the periods of time in which you conduct certain activities. And it's not like that calendar doesn't have to be like, I have an appointment at 1:00. That calendar, until you develop serious habits, can be, I'm cooking and eating dinner on Thursday from 6 to 9. Right? Because it has mental effects. And I speak from experience in periods of my life where I'm like I need, and it was mostly around prospecting. Like, the things that were most effective for me was I prospect during This is how I spend my life during this specific period of time. I spend it doing these activities. Okay. And you should also do it with your personal life to begin with. So when you know you have personal life stuff, you don't feel so bad that for me, it felt different to have a time block of personal activities. Okay. It felt natural for me to have a time block of like I prospect from 8 to 10 or whatever it was, right? That feels obvious and natural. But if you're really feeling just sort of frazzled, you need to start time blocking your personal time. And we had a good discussion about how to do that. And because there's plenty of agents out there who say, I don't work on Sundays, okay? Or I don't work on Mondays until 1. Like I don't answer my phone because I need some free time to decompress. That's very fair and you should do that. But remember, if your message is I'm available to you at all hours, you have to tell your clients that in some way, shape, or form that you're not available. And Kimberly Fifths made a good reminder to me that we don't tell our clients that we don't work on Sundays. We tell our clients that we have previous engagements or we have appointments on Sunday. I'm sorry, we can't help you. That's how we respond to those issues. And then we also followed up from another interesting conversation later on in the sales meeting, which proved the point, which was how does everybody handle going on vacation? Because that's kind of the same thing, right? How do I handle going on vacation? My clients are going to care. Guess what? Your clients, if everything is planned for and they have advance notice, nobody cares that you take Sunday off. Nobody cares about your personal time or you not being available to them if there's a plan. Okay? So you need to take your personal time back and actually have it be personal time. So the phone can go off. If you miss a phone call, you just call them back when you're back on, right? When you put the hat back on. It's okay. And if you're feeling like I'm going to lose business, if somebody is going to fire you or have an issue that you didn't call them back Sunday at 7:00 that day, I'm telling you, like, it is a blessing in disguise. Get this person out of my life. So take control. Yeah, take it away.
I don't think it's bad to say that this is your private or your family time. And my cutoff is at 7:00 because I don't want them texting me at 8 and 9. Yep. I don't.
No, it's fair.
And if you say it's your family time, usually they're going to go, oh, I understand. If they're your people, they're going to understand. Unless it's a critical issue, and then you answer and you tell them, if the house is on fire, if this is a critical issue as to whether or not you get this property, of course I'm going to answer. Of course I will do these things outside of that timeline. But most things can wait till 9:00 the next morning.
Yeah, I thank you, Linda, for that comment. I think to give everybody perspective on what's possible, I do know agents who say, they'll do a listing appointment, and part of the listing appointment is, and oh, by the way, I don't work on Sunday at all. So I don't answer my phone. I don't respond to texts and emails. I just don't. And I promise you that that's not going to affect your sale. If there's something I have to do on a Sunday that is really important that affects the personal outcome of this transaction, I'll do it. But otherwise, it can wait till Monday. And they go out of their way to make that declaration, and they do it all the time, and they live by it. They don't work on Sunday. Okay.
I think that weeds out your people. Are they your people or are they not your kind of people?
Yeah. And quite frankly, I mean, I know we're different and we have a very different perspective because we're in this business, but in what situation would we hire somebody and they go, listen, I have personal time and I don't work these days. And you're going to be like, no, I need you to work those days. Deal's off, bucko. You're not hired anymore. It's kind of weird, right? Double K Double M 1000 says, I do believe it's my own internal pressure that I expect myself to be available when they call or message me. Learning to take some time to self can be a challenge, but I'm seeing the importance lately. So great comment. Thanks. Yes, this is what you've described is maybe the most common feeling about our business and our clients and availability because it's true, right? I mean, a huge part of what we're offering is customer service. And if everybody in this business knows that our clients are available afternoons and weekends, well, we got to be available, And to say afternoon and weekend, and then to make a declaration. By the way, those 2 days that are really important where you don't work. One of those days I don't work. Sorry, that's kind of a conflict there. It can be overcome, but there's some conflict there. Could be minor, could be major, but take that time back. Take that time back. So let's talk about some of these too. Let's move on to this next slide to talk about these things. The 5 big rocks. I don't know where this came up, but it makes a good point. The brain releases dopamine, the motivation chemical, every time a task is completed. Every evening, identify the 5 critical income-producing tasks for the following day, and the execution focus solely on completing these rocks before reacting to the noise. Each completed rock fuels the next. This, to me, sparks my memory of when I first started in real estate, and I was at Cushman & Wakefield, and everybody who I was watching do business was a big shot to me. Whether or not they were is irrelevant, but they were a big shot to me. And many of them, and these are all in the commercial world, and many of them had a strategy where they'd take those legal pads and they would write down their tasks that they had to do for the day, right? And I never, I was just like, well, that's obvious. You just write down what you're supposed to do. But then one day, a successful old timer gave me his strategy. He's like, everything that I write down during the day doesn't make it to my next day. He said, I assess every single thing and I focus only on the things that are actually important, because there's so much stuff to do every day. There's a ton of stuff to do every day, but that doesn't mean if I don't get it done, some of it is just not as important as the other things. And I'll make sure that the important stuff is my priority. And I know it seems obvious, but for us, here's what I will say. In the commercial world, and I know, I gave this example yesterday, and it seems very relevant. Many of you have called a commercial agent, and they didn't call you back, okay? A lot of you have had that experience. And there's several reasons for that, and some of them are that they're, well, I won't say those words, but they're not nice words, okay? About that culture, and a lot of that is true. But part of the truth of that is that you are not their priority. And a lot of commercial agents are highly motivated people who have very specific goals, and that's just their culture. And so a large reason why they're not calling you back is you're not their priority. If I get to it randomly, I'll call them back, but I have other higher priorities. And I think that's actually a healthy mindset to some degree, not to their degree, but to some degree, you can take that mindset too. Just because somebody calls you and asks you for your time doesn't mean you have to give it to them. Just because someone makes a request of you doesn't mean you have to comply and say yes. There are artful ways of saying no, and I think you need to start exploring some of those things. What this thing says to me, the 5 big rocks, is every day you have to identify the most important things. And if you're identifying 15 things that are the most important things, that's too much. All those 15 things aren't that important. And even if they're really important, you're not going to get them all done in that day. And you need to say, I'm not doing this, or I can leverage this with other people, or I can use technology to do this. But just remember, if you have the ability to leverage technology and you have the ability to push this task onto somebody else or to delegate, that's not the most important thing in your life. It's just not. Okay. And when we say this, one of the things that we always say, as a brokerage, you have the ability to leverage marketing. Is marketing the most important thing in your life? Shouldn't be. It's part of your life, but you shouldn't be creating it, because that's not what anybody pays you to do, right? That's a low priority for you. And yeah, there may be a time where you're like, well, listen, there's something I need to do. And yeah, you got to make the order of the marketing. This is just an example. You got to make the order and you got to communicate about how that goes down. But spending hours on it is not important. Like, you've got to delegate. You've got to leverage other things in order to make your life better. And so start thinking about that as much as you possibly can. Can I delegate this? Can I use a piece of technology to leverage my time? If the answer is no, maybe it's important. But if the answer is yes, you already automatically know that this isn't how you should spend the next. You shouldn't pass on the most important things to do the things that you can leverage. So that's a good kind of test to make sure that you're focusing your time appropriately. Deep work. So this is sort of an example. I kind of agree with this. The AM block, the morning, 8 to noon, deep work and proactive action. I think it's actually smart. I think everybody kind of sees that this is probably the best thing to do. We focus on the income producing activities, lead generation, prospecting, market research. Get your most important things done in the morning. And then in the afternoon, if we do that, just think about the mental effect of 8 to noon. The most important things we got to do, we got to get done from 8 to noon. And that leaves the afternoon if we have to jump from task to task and we have to be, move with a drop of a hat to go show our listing or whatever. We can do that and we don't have to feel so bad about it because the most important things we got done. Because remember, I know this may sound bizarre, but the most important thing in your real estate career on any given day isn't showing your listing. It's important, but prospecting, lead generation, market research, creating more business for yourself in the morning is more important than showing a house to your listing agent. It just is. Okay? Because those things are the things that sustain us. The showing the house thing, we know we can go, listen, I can't, I'm sorry, I have prior engagements and overlapping appointments from 10 to noon, but I sure can't show. I can definitely be there at 1:30 to 4:30. What works best for you? Like, that's how we handle that situation. And if it's really easy to go, you know what, I can just drop what I'm doing. I can go there. I can go there now. No, you can't. You have very important things to do for your business and for your future. You have very important things to do. So defend the morning, run your proactive plays before the industry chaos dictates your schedule. Good line. Good line. Anybody have any questions, comments? Linda says, set the expectation and they will know what to expect. I think that's very true. A lot of this with your clients and dealing with your time is just setting the expectation. They may not like it, but they will act a lot differently if you've told them this before and you just reinforce it. Definitely. Any comments? Suggestions? Let me know. If you think I'm wrong, just let me know so we can have a lively discussion about it. Just let me know. Okay. Now, I know 10-10-10. We talked about this yesterday in a sales meeting. And there was one or two furrowed brows because we're talking about 10 outbound quality conversations. That would be a phone call. 10 strategic emails, and 10 connection text messages. The compound effect of the 10-10-10, 30 connections per day, 250 working days equals 7,500 touches a year. And they're saying that's a 2 to 3 hour effort in the morning. I mean, after a month, that's kind of a lot. And you got to repeat what you're doing. And you're like, well, what do I say? What do I do? That's a secondary problem. But even if that 10 isn't your number, you can see, even if it was only 5, we're still talking about 3,000 touches a year of prospecting and actually trying to generate business. Think about that. That's pretty powerful, that number, 3,500. 3,500, you're making money and you're moving along. And hopefully you're also, during that time, because you're being consistent and doing small actions every single day to promote yourself, you're reducing the roller coaster income effect, which is a huge reduction in stress for yourself. So remember that. That can be very powerful as you go back to think about, what do I do with my mornings? This is what you do with your mornings. And there's all sorts of ways to make this. And I know there were me, because I did the cold calls. I mean, doing those cold calls at the start of my career made me like really gun shy about calling people. Because at first I was like, I'll call anybody. And then so many people were really rude to me, maybe appropriately, that it makes me a little gun shy to do it now. So I wish that had to happen, but I get the feeling sometimes like, oh, I don't want to make a phone call. Is sending a text message better than nothing? Yes, it is. Is it the preferred method? Maybe not. Is sending email the most preferred method to prospect? No. Is it better than nothing? Yes. Okay. So if you're feeling some way, shape, or form about, gosh, I just can't make these calls today, default to doing something rather than nothing seems obvious, but, just telling you how I handled things early on. I would default to doing nothing because I wasn't doing the most effective thing, which is wrong. The other thing I will tell you about making these activities, if you are feeling sort of like you're not feeling motivated, just say, I'm just going to do 2. I'll just do 2 today as opposed to my normal whatever. After you get through 2, you're going to have a whole different outlook on maybe more prospecting activities. So just remember that. Leslie says, I find that the younger clients prefer texting. It's very true. There are plenty of people that can't believe that humans talk on the phone. They're just like, what are you doing making a phone call? My daughter got a phone call from a friend the other day, and you would have thought that the school blew up or something. Like, she could not believe that one of her friends was calling her. And even me, I was like, yeah, why are they calling you? No one ever calls you. I mean, you're in constant communication with all these people, but no one ever calls you. What's going on? Like, it was bizarre. There is definitely something to that. And by the way, like, sometimes you're wondering about reaching out, doing all those things. There are a lot of great ideas about prospecting and just making contacts with your clients that aren't phone calls. There's a lot. Just to give you a brief example of what that might look like, the one thing that I always use as sort of the example of that, I watched an agent make a pretty generic video that could be sort of went along the lines of, hey, what's going on? Haven't talked to you in a while. Hope you're doing well. Gave some little tidbit about themselves. Catch you later. And they sent it to everybody on Facebook Messenger. Like all their friends. Well, I don't know every single friend because, there's a whole bunch of people that are friends on Facebook that we don't actually know, but we know their name. Anyway, she sent it to the people that actually know her. And she actually got more responses than she could handle. Like, I don't know what kind of business she generated, but she created conversations with a lot of people. A lot of people with the one video and just sending the same video to all these people. So that's part of leveraging. That's part of the kind of clever leveraging of your time and all those things that you should think about, and avoids the direct phone call thing. But yeah, it is weird. Like this, there's a group of people that don't want to talk on the phone, but they'll send video messages to each other. Also weird that they would do that, but not make a phone call. Very weird. But whatever. Sometimes I don't want to talk on the phone too. Anybody have any questions, comments? Moving on. Let's see, what time is it? 1:46. There's a couple of things do I want to talk about any more? Hold on, maybe I don't. Let's talk about this real quick. If you are feeling, to close out before we move on, if you are feeling like you're sort of scattered everywhere, just try blocking your time out and focusing on that and telling people that you have appointments. And you'll feel better about telling them you have appointments because it's scheduled on your calendar, even though it's your own personal situation. There's some of you like, yeah, it's just what I do. I don't mind telling people I don't have time. That's great. Some of you don't. You're not good at telling your clients, no, not now. But remember, we don't say no, not now. We say, no, not now, but what about this time? We give them alternatives immediately. Just get good at that. It will reduce your stress. It'll reduce a lot of things. Start time blocking, okay? Even your personal time, because when you enter your personal time, that's when we don't answer phone calls. Like, if you've been in this business long enough, you were eating dinner and you totally picked up your phone and left and missed dinner. That's just insane. It's insane, and you shouldn't do it. You should feel slightly guilty about doing that, actually. Because the person that called you, if they knew that they called you at dinner, they'd feel horrible about it and wish they didn't call. So do them a favor of not making them feel horrible, and don't pick up the phone at dinner because you already time blocked it. That's the key here. You already time blocked it. Just start doing it. Time block your personal time, and obviously time block the other stuff, not just appointments, but blocking periods of time in which you yourself make your business better, make your life better. There you have it. Anybody have any questions? Anybody have any questions on that before we move on? Now, Bueller, think we're good? The other thing, I did go back. It used to be that I would religiously look for the Naughty List newsletter stuff because it was fun. It was fun. I'll admit, maybe a little too fun to laugh at other people. But we were learning at the same time. I think we can all admit that. We were learning at the same time from their failure. But I do want to cover some of them because some of these we should actually really learn from. And there's a couple of these in here. This is from Q2 newsletter. There's a couple of these in here which I am really happy to say they actually took away some licenses for these actions, which is like, thank you. I know in the past we've seen some just insane stuff where the person's like, yes, I admit it. I was intentionally stealing from people. And they were like, you know what? We wanted a $2,000 fine and some CE credits, mister, for stealing from the public. But you could continue selling real estate, which is, I don't even know. We're not going to talk about that. But we will review some of these. All right. Let's see, 150. Yeah, we got time. And I this is all public information, so if you really want to know who these people are, you can go look. But, I'll just say, associate broker, Springville, Utah, in a stipulated order dated May 20th, this person admitted that he left his clients unsupervised at a showing with the keys to the house. The homeowner returned 15 or 20 minutes later to find this person's client sitting in the living room talking. This person admits that his conduct is a violation of Utah law and administrative rules. He has agreed to pay a civil penalty of $4,000 and complete 3 hours of CE. This is what I want to see. Who cares about CE? Take their money. Unless it's me, then give me CE. But $4,000, just look at what we're talking about. It's insane that somebody would do this. But this person had to pay $4,000 because they gave their clients keys to a house and let them look at it themselves. Okay? Now, let's paint the best possible picture we could, even though this isn't the correct picture, but let's do a little exercise here. Let's say that he showed up, unlocked the house, toured the house, did all the things, and then said, hey, I got an appointment. Will you guys lock up? And then 2 seconds later, the seller walks in. Should he still get fined $4,000? In this man's opinion, yes, he should get fined $4,000. Yes. It's insane to me that, this is the reminder that key is only given to you because you are a licensed real estate agent and part of organizations and you get background checked and all those things. That's why that key is given to you. And it is your responsibility to secure that house and make sure they don't steal any meds. Okay? That's what that means. Who knows? But I will tell you, if everyone will go back to the insane days, the post-pandemic rush for housing, there were, and I did a favor for an agent during that time. They were like, hey, I'm out of town, and there's 3 houses that are coming up. And they want to see him. I'm like, yeah, I'll go show him. I'll go show these houses for you. And I arrived at a house that was wide open. And there was a parade of agents and clients and just people just walking through this thing. And I'm like, what is going on? I had an appointment to open a key box. And it's just chaos. And I'm calling and texting the agent. And I'm like, I didn't get your key. There's a whole bunch of people here. This is not cool. Sort of absolve myself of this insane situation. So be very aware. I think most of you are, but be very aware that house is your responsibility while you're there. And you have to tell people, no, hey, whoa, we can't do that. We can't
It might
do those.
seem nice for them to pass the key off to you, but if something happens or they did something and you didn't realize what happened and you're the last one
Yeah.
to close that lockbox, it's on you.
Yeah,
I feel
it's
like
definitely
it's
on
on
you. And I will say, like, we're an industry that has to police ourselves because no one else is doing it. The state is not policing us. And there's behavior that can only be corrected by making other agents feel bad about themselves, and we have to make them feel bad about themselves. I know it sounds petty, but like if I walk up to a house and they're like, hey, here's the key, I'd be like, no, go put the key back and, give them a tone. Give them a tone that lets them know that you gotta wake up and pay a little bit of attention. And then the same would go if they arrived and like, hey, can I just I'll lock up on my way out. Next agent, like, yeah, you can get out of the key box after I put it in there. Like you should do too. Make them feel bad about it because they should know better. They should absolutely know better. Bob says, just don't be the last one. Leslie says, I always say something like I want it on record that I showed the house. Yeah. I mean, you can be eloquent about it. You could be soft about it. But if they're being if they're being super casual about it, I think you should give them just a little bit of attitude, a little bit of passive aggressive attitude, I think is appropriate. Let's see. Moving on. Principal broker. By the way, it is my experience that if you are a principal broker of your own brokerage and there's no other agents there, my antennas go up and I am very worried about this situation. And is that to say that they're all the same, that these one-person brokerages? No, because I do know some one-person brokerages and the broker's a professional, great person, does everything right. But there is a larger number of knuckleheads who are principal brokers of their own thing than there should be. That's just a fact. So anyway, principal broker admits that he used an unlicensed assistant to perform duties that require a license. This person also represented to the buyers of 2 lots that they could use the related water rights to service homes they intended to build, despite the fact that the water service of the properties is restricted to recreational use and is only available during the months of April through October. This conduct and these misrepresentations violate Utah law and administrative rules. This person is agreed to pay $10,000 and that his license be placed on probation. So I like this outcome. This is a really good reminder because water is complicated. Water shares and water rights are complicated. And we should never, ever, ever say that you can or cannot do this. The source of you can or cannot do this should be the water company. We can provide numbers. We can provide this. We can provide that. And if somebody gives you a document that says part of a seller's disclosure is about water rights, we should say, you need to go verify this. I'll find a number of the right person to talk to you. But you need to hear it from them of what you can and can't do because I am not the source of this information. I should never be the source of this information. So never declare, and it goes with a lot of things, but water is a big thing. Never declare what people can and can't do. That declaration should be declared by somebody who actually knows, an authority of some type or another. And even if you're the listing agent providing some seller's disclosures, here's the stuff we have on the water. You're going to have to verify this stuff for yourself. And even in today's world, it's my understanding that this can be done with this water. I'd feel even worried about making those statements in our current environment. Because, most of you know that trying to figure out water stuff is just kind of miserable. And there's just 1,000 of them. And the people, and some of the people that do it are volunteers, right? So they're not even fully engaged. So it's a big problem. Be very careful with the water situation, though this person does seem to have gone way out of their way to be negligent. By the way, I highly encourage you to go to the thing. I didn't put it in here, but there is somebody in there that had 9 things just racked up. The 4th violation, the 5th violation, and I didn't put it in here because it wasn't just take too long. This is very interesting. This one is, and I'm doing this for funsies because it's 158 and I got 3 more, but we won't make it. And I will say this person's name because they deserve to be called out. This one's shocking to me. MJ Augie Bove. I haven't heard of this person before, which I'm surprised I haven't. Mr. Bove, or Bovier, however, admits that he was a partner in a real estate training and coaching business and had control and authority over scripts for radio advertisement promoting seminars. These advertisements were deceptive and contained false and unsubstantiated claims. The advertisements promoted free events that were sales pitches for expensive training packages. After a civil judgment related to the matter, the court entered a stipulated judgment of $12 million. $12 million. With the provision that upon payment of $2.8 million, the judgment would be suspended. This person was obviously licensed, violated Utah real estate law. He agreed to surrender his real estate license. So that's the new bar. $12 million is the new bar for fines. No one's ever going to beat it until the next person decides that they need to do another training program. So anyway, does anybody have any comments? Anything they want to add before we sign off? All right, well, I hope that hour was worth your time. I hope I gave you something to think about. And I hope you feel like you're just slightly better than you were before we started this. Thanks so much for coming, and we'll catch you next time.